Tell you what went down well the other week, John.
What's that?
Your song that you did for the long, which was my idea, by the way, wasn't it? I think we mentioned that.
I think we might have mentioned that, Tom. Yeah.
It was my idea, and you executed it to my satisfaction.
Oh, I'm pleased to
A lot
hear
of
that.
people were pleased with the idea of having the long list of a competition sung. It was genius, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I'll give you that.
So
Tom.
I thought I'd do another one.
All right.
So
You've done another more of the long list?
Because we got a lot of entries, didn't we?
We did get a lot of entries. That is true.
A lot of entries. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, we've done the ones we like, the good ones.
Right.
Let's do one for the ones we thought were rubbish. So many entries made us happy, but quite a few were just a little bit crappy. So we just want you to know we're not amused.
Tom,
I think a
we
few
can't-
of you
no, you
were
can't
just
do that.
a little bit confused. There was Mikey Ballantyne writing utter rubbish. Peter Pickett
No.
who will, well, never get published.
Harsh.
Seamus O'Brien who shouldn't have even bothered trying. Tabitha Poet and her awkward stumbling prose left us in tears and crying. Gary Parson whose prose was a grimy shade of purple. Edith Chambers whose imagination is definitely not fertile. Jason Partridge whose story was just pure garbage. And we have to ask, was Carla Blyton's ghost written by a cabbage?
Tom.
Patricia Enid who wrote like a particularly thick toddler. Simon Simons who we just wish hadn't bothered. Philippa Lumu who's writing let AI bear the brunt. And Keith Miswegan who just wrote like a total...
No, Tom.
What?
Tom, we can't put that out.
Oh, it's fine. John, those aren't real people. It's just a silly joke. I was very, very careful to make sure that any of the names I used in that were completely different to the terrible entries that we actually had. I'm kidding. I am kidding. Oh, I am naughty.
You're listening to the Failing Writers Podcast. They put the crass into procrastination.
So this week we thought it'd be nice to just have a listen to some of the runners-up stories in our competition, because it'd be a bit of a waste for people not to hear such brilliant stories, really. That was the idea, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. I think we can't just mention them and then just ignore them, can we?
No, they deserve an outing. They deserve getting heard.
They do, definitely.
And also, we thought it'd be nice to have a chat with the winner. We caught up with Manu to see what she had to say about winning the competition.
So should we do that? Should we do that straight away?
Yeah, let's have a little chat with her.
And then we'll...
Lovely.
Okay, perfect. How lovely of you to join us.
Well, how lovely of you to invite me.
So, are you just back from holiday? Is that right?
Yes. All over Norway, all the way up to Svalbard.
Was that just for fun? Did you get any writing done? Was it a full relax, put your pens down kind of trip, or were you...
Yeah, pretty much, because I'm starting I've just started my second year of the creative writing MA, so it was a break before the hard work starts again.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And I
right.
guess you needed to get over the excitement of winning our competition.
I needed to cool off. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like? Tell us what happened the moment that you found out.
Yeah, come on, reenact it for us.
Oh yes, gladly. Because I've been kind of trying to like relive that moment as often as I could during these past couple of weeks. I just like played the episode and like tried to summon that joy again over and over again. So yeah, I got up early that day because I had a flight later in the afternoon, and I still had some packing to do and some stuff. And I got up at around 8:30. I made myself a coffee, and I knew that the 16th of October was going to be the day when you announced the winners. And I listened to the whole episode, obviously. I mean, I was tempted initially to kind of just like skip through to the winner, but I didn't know where it was.
Well done, you.
Well done. So yeah, I listened to the whole thing, and the thing is that I really believed in this story for this competition. It just seemed like a perfect match. But then the more I listened, I mean, I heard my name in the long list, so that was like, okay. I was like, okay, at least if nothing else, I made the long list.
You made the song.
Yeah, I made the song.
How much fun being in Labour isn't. Manu St Thomas favors favoritism.
Then you read the previous two stories, right? The runners up, and they were just so good. So as much as I believed in my story, the doubts were starting to creep in. I was like, oh God, like, can my story, would anybody think that it's as good as those two? And then you finished reading the second story, and then one of you guys said,
Talking about burying our feelings deep, I would say that would lead on to your winning story, Kathy.
Yes. This one was just, again, a fantastic piece. I was bowled over by this story. I just thought it was wonderful. And it is...
Then Kathy took like this like half a second break before she like said the title of the winning story, and my heart stopped.
Melanie's a bad person.
And then the moment she said Melanie, I lost it in the kitchen here. Like I was trying not to wake up my boyfriend, but
Melanie's a Bad Person by Manu St Thomas.
I just jumped and cried, and yeah, I had to.
Nice. Proper ugly crying.
Proper ugly crying. Yes.
Well,
yes.
that seems fair, because I think maybe you made a few people cry with your story, Manu.
Yeah. That's just payback.
Well, yeah, but mine were happy tears, so I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, different. Dare I ask where the seed of the idea came from for the story?
Yeah, I worked with this girl several years ago when I was still in Romania, actually about maybe 10 or 12 years ago, and we stayed friends on Facebook after I left that company. And I saw that she got married to her partner back then, and they adopted 2 children, and for years there were loads and loads of photos on Facebook of their family with their adoptive children. And then I'm not sure what happened, because we don't really keep in touch. We're just Facebook friends. And she got remarried and she had a daughter. And the photos of the other children stopped completely. And it was just photos of her biological daughter from like one point onwards. So that was the seed. That was the inspiration.
And you kind of extrapolated that little bit of information.
Yeah, my question was, how would it feel? And I think that's, beyond this very particular situation. I think that's something that we can all relate to. Like, how does it feel to kind of be tossed aside a little bit in favor of somebody else?
Do you know what I think was really brilliant about your story, though, with the subject matter, was that it's something that everyone would look at and go, yeah, no, that's wrong. That is wrong. You can't be like that. And then at the same time going, but I completely understand why. So it kind of drills so deeply into your psyche about it that you understand. Because a lot of stories like that, where there's someone doing something wrong, you can go, well, I wouldn't do that, or that I wouldn't be in that situation. Whereas with that one, it was just such a perfect balance of her self-loathing, but just not being able to do anything about it was brilliant. Handled really well as well.
Thank you.
That's fertile ground, that feelings that you can't help having.
Yeah, that you know are wrong, but
it's very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, which are not, I by no means mean that Melanie or the person who was my inspiration, that they are bad persons, so that,
of course, yeah.
But that's kind of what I wanted to do. I mean, I wanted to start with this idea that gets into her head, like, oh my God, I'm a bad person. How can I feel like this? And I think I wanted the reader initially to be like, oh, come on, you're not that bad, how, I mean, we tell ourselves all kinds of bad stuff. And then more often than not, we need a voice from the outside to come and be like, relax, things are not that bad. You're not a bad person. It's okay. But then by the end of it, I kind of wanted to be like, yeah, okay, I'm not sure. I don't know.
But it is the wonderful thing. It is ambiguous at the end.
It is, yeah. That's I wanted to go for that ambiguity.
Yeah, you feel terrible for her, but at the same time, maybe very slightly judgy. But at the same time, I don't know. You're kind of swept along, and it's such a great ending as well, because you do flip it back round again, and then you begin to sort of judge her again. But you just very cleverly manipulate your reader, I think.
Thank you. Actually, it was the phrase that we had to insert into the story that led to the ending. Because I had this story maybe about like 85% completed before I found out about the competition. And then I saw the brief of the competition, and I was like, okay, it's supposed to be about failing, so
Yeah.
that matches pretty well. That's great. And then that one sentence, sorry, I haven't got time now, led into it being Angelique's birthday, and then her forgetting, and then trying, because it initially it ended at like, maybe Melanie can, she can try to be a good person. She can fake it until she make it. But it didn't seem impactful enough.
Yeah.
So that sentence unlocked the rest, and that ending where it's just like, yeah, no.
It really fit very well. And I think when you're judging competitions like this, you're kind of looking at the phrase and thinking, has that just sort of been inserted?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Or is it a real core part of the story? And it was great that it really was in that.
It was the missing
it really
piece. It
helps.
was great.
Well, I think we have to take a lot of credit for the quality of your story then, don't we, really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you want to
Definitely.
send maybe a couple of £100 back, send a bit of money back, or... Because it sounds like it was more of a team effort now, doesn't it? We're assuming from the quality of the story and your success in this competition, Manu, that you've probably won a lot of other writing competitions in your time.
No. Actually, it's my first Flash competition win. So I mean, I won 2 microfiction challenges last year.
Oh, yeah.
But they were both for 100-word stories, and they were there's this community called Globe Soup online.
Oh, yeah.
They run this like great group. Yeah, it's very nice. The people there are very nice, and they run this monthly microfiction challenge where the judges, at least that's how it used to be before people started like asking for votes, but the judges chose the 10 finalists, and then the group voted for the winning entry.
Oh, wow.
I won those
Brilliant.
2 last year, but they were voted by the group, and they were microfiction. So this is actually my first legitimate competition win.
Is there anywhere we can find any of your work online, Manu? Is there anything that you're particularly proud of that we could have a look at, that we can point to now?
Yeah, so I have those 2 microfiction stories that I'm pretty proud of. I think they're pretty great, if I may say so myself. And I published a Flash piece in Flash Fiction magazine last year. It's called God of Ramen.
Nice. Good name.
We'll get the links off you and we'll put them in the show notes. And then if anyone wants to have a read of them, they can have a click through and see some of your other work.
Oh, well, Manuela, it's so lovely to talk to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for entering the competition. Turned out all right in the end, didn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for organizing this competition, and for choosing my story, and for reading so many other stories, because you were saying that you had loads
There
of
was a
entries.
lot.
That was great. It was great fun. And so good luck with everything else. And and stay in touch.
Same to you. Yeah,
Let us
absolutely.
know how you're getting on.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Manu.
Take care.
You too.
Manu St Thomas there, one to watch in the future.
Only been writing in English for 2 years.
It's sort of annoying, isn't it?
I was going to say, how does that make you feel, other than bloody annoyed?
Yeah, there must be a few writers out there who are literally seething right now.
To be fair, she did say grew up watching sort of American or English speaking TV programs and movies.
Yeah.
And she had an English tutor from the age of 6.
Yeah.
So,
because one of the things that didn't make it to the edit there was I asked her that question, and I suspect that most listeners were kind of dying to have the answer to that, which was how on earth she's able to write like she does despite English being her second language.
Yeah.
Because she's Romanian and she lives in Germany. So, so you can sort of imagine she's probably quite good at German as well. And yet she writes in English.
She did make an interesting point, though, that actually, once you get to a certain level of understanding the language, it does help, because you don't fall into necessarily the same cliches. You have to kind of construct your own cliches, if you like, because you don't have that deep linguistic, cultural knowledge of just throwing out what a sentence would be. You kind of have to think about every single word.
Yeah. You can't just rely on sort of classic sort of aphorisms or metaphors. You actually have to come at things from a different angle.
You have to build them yourself, which just brings in that lovely originality, doesn't it? It means you have to think about every single word, which you should be in a piece of short fiction, particularly.
Yeah, you're paying more attention, aren't you?
Yeah.
In a way, to every word.
Inspiring stuff. And she was lovely as well, which is always nice.
But, I mean, just the fact that she studied English. I mean, I get that she studied English, But, I did French, and I'm not about to start writing flash fiction in French.
Well, that's your task for next week, actually, John, to write a 300-word story in French without any help from any outside translation
That's
tools.
fine. As long as it can be about finding the Cinema Rex or what I studied at school and maybe what's in my pencil case and ice cream flavours.
And the railway station, that always featured very heavily, didn't it?
Yeah.
Very heavily.
Then I might be able to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Manu has very kindly sent us some links to her other work. So have a look at them. I've been reading some of them, and they are actually really great. So have a little look.
Yeah, they're all in the show notes, so have a click through there and read some more stuff.
And if you literally don't know what we're talking about right now, then you have to go back a couple of episodes and listen to the Flash Fiction Winners episode.
Yeah.
And then all of this will make more sense.
And in that episode, you will also hear the names of people that were runners-up.
Yes.
And those are the stories that we're going to have a little listen to now. So who have we got first, John?
Well, first of all, we have Chest by Akimoju Basaya.
This was one of your favourites, wasn't it, in the whole thing?
Chest by Akimoju Basaya.
Picture this. The heirlooms of childhood held over your mother's breasts. Her necklace that you fingered as a baby while she breastfed you. The hugs, tight to the chest, that never happened. A little older, the way you often wondered if she heard your palpitations in her own chest. That da-dum of anxiety when you disappointed her. Or the tearing sound in your heart when you realised she had words galore for all the ways you weren't good enough. And only a distant gleam in her eyes, silent, almost not there, for every trophy you won as a child, hoping to exchange for her love. As a young woman, you saw all the diagrams in the nursing textbooks, the way genes are sent from parent to child, mother to daughter, straight backs, uneven smiles, intelligence, difficult personality, or the gene for cancer. How funny the name of that gene sounds. BRCA, bra, over the breast, through the lifeblood of your constitution, the milk of the womb knitting you both wrong, marked with an almost inevitability. When the diagnosis was official, everyone knew your mother wouldn't die from the cancer, except you. She lost all of her hair, but none of her personality, none of her complaints. And you wondered if you were failing by being torn about if you wanted her to live. You imagined the world without her, silent, in a way that allows healing, like the first quiet morning after a week of thunderstorms. You also imagined her staying alive, the lightning peeling in the sky indefinitely, and you imagined that either way, you still would not have the words for the grief you already felt. The pain you wanted to avoid in your mother's illness, in your own future. What could a daughter do? When she didn't want to watch her mother waste away, there was no easy way out of it. No cheap excuse or throwaway comment like, "Sorry, I haven't got time," when your mother needed you in the hospital room. Just like there was no easy way out, no balm over that fear that you might later on be the one lying in a bed in the recovery room, needing someone to hold too. Maybe with a daughter, only half hoping that you would get out of there too. But like everyone guessed, your mother recovered. The wound over her possible demise sealed by a surgeon. On the day she could eat ice cream without the lingering chemo making her throw up, you both sat outside, watching the rain cloud in the distance hovering, a blue bird running beneath it like lightning.
That's another of those stories that gets to the difficult truth of a subject.
Yeah,
I thought.
But it stayed away from being sappy and pithy and cliche, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Interestingly, it's another one that's written in the second person, like our first runner-up by Lucy Boulevant. It's about your and you. I liked the way that everything was sort of brought back to the chest. I thought that was really clever. It didn't seem forced either, but everything sort of related to the torso, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And it had a pacing to it as well, didn't it? It just wasn't rushed or trying to really steady, matter of fact almost.
Yeah. I think what was quite moving about it is that that whole idea of somebody's chest, that the fact that it relates to the closeness that the character is kind of yearning for, of feeling safe, and all of those kind of deep psychological needs and comforts that originate from childhood. They all seem to just coalesce very nicely in the story.
Yeah.
And the way the character isn't getting that from their mother, I thought that was, really quite upsetting, but very powerful. There's a sort of thunder and lightning metaphor as well that runs throughout. And there's a kind of this turbulence in the whole story. And I thought that was quite a nice little metaphor, a feeling of unease and not being settled.
No, very good. Very, very good.
I also liked, the other thing I really liked is that how
God, you liked this one a lot, didn't you?
I did like it. I just thought it was really well thought through. I really liked the way that the roles of the characters kind of reverse at the end as well. And the mother becomes the child eating ice cream. And she has to be the grown-up.
It's sort of a well-observed universal truth, isn't it? That really.
Yeah.
That's
but I just
what
thought
happens.
it was just a really smart bit of writing. It was just really well thought out, well constructed.
Yeah.
So well done.
The next one we've got then is by Stephen Stillbeck. The Gathering Evening by Stephen Stillbeck. In the thick autumn light, falling leaves pooled, slick and dark, like blood in the lane. It was a school night and Lily could not be seen raking them in just yet. The school bus had dropped her off barely an hour ago. Other kids would be inside doing their homework. Still, the leaf-littered lawn troubled her. What if her mum came back and saw it like that? Instead, she tended to the houseplants, lovingly plucking dead petals from frail stems, watering and misting and whispering encouraging words. The clock ticked out the minutes, each counting towards the time when the door would open and her mother, red-faced and smiling, would burst in and wrap Lily up in her arms, engulfing her in stale stories that only perfume and cigarette smoke could tell. Then, locking the door, they would settle in front of the television and eat cake and pizza until the national anthem played, and she felt heavy and light-headed with sleep. Outside, a silvered splinter of moon crisped the failing light, waiting impatiently for the stars to make an appearance. The sun, a fading stranger, had drifted below the ridge, and streetlights were already flickering into life. Lily put on her coat and grabbed the thick bunch of keys from the hook and stepped into the chilly evening. Already the ribbon of the leaf-strewn lane appeared black beneath heavy boughs. In the fade of day, those leaves that had scattered across the lawn glowed like fallen stars, glistening memories of summer. Lily grabbed the rake from the garage and stumbled over the root-knuckled lawn and set to her task. She loved the sound of the rake as it scratched through the grass, pulling secrets from the earth, drawing those earthly treasures into aromatic piles. She recalled her mamma's hands curled around the shaft of the rake, her scarlet nails and ringless fingers. She looked at her own fingers, at the nails, chipped and untidy. A crisp of red where she had failed to clean away the varnish under the watchful eyes of her teacher, Miss Hepshaw. "Does your mum know you came to school with nail varnish on?" she had asked. Lily, not knowing what to say, had shrugged. Perhaps that was why, when she noticed the cars pulling up outside her home, she was unsurprised to see Miss Hepshaw stepping out onto her lawn. "Lily, is your mum home?" she asked. Lily cast a glance over her shoulder at the empty house. She had failed to keep her secret. "No," she answered softly. "That's all right, sweetheart," Miss Hepshaw smiled. "Would you like to come with me?" She looked up at Miss Hepshaw. Lily could see she had been crying. "Sorry, I haven't got time," she answered, dragging invisible leaves into imaginary piles. As Miss Hepshaw helped Lily gather the leaves and put them in the compost, ready for when her mamma returned, the lady from social services packed Lily's belongings in the boot of the car. So that was The Gathering Evening by Stephen Stillbeck. And, just a hauntingly simple story, really. And again, like a lot of the entries, quite sad.
I mean, it's one way of getting to the emotions, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is to have a small child.
Although having said that, it wasn't sad it was sad, obviously, in the situation, but there was a happiness there was a gentle ending and everyone in that situation being happy that something had been sorted at the end of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There was like a community coming together in the face
It's
of
going to be okay.
sadness.
Even though it's not okay, it's going to be okay from here. You're being looked after. There's been some intervention.
Yeah.
So
I felt like it wasn't going to be okay. But yeah, I know what you mean. Maybe eventually.
I'm just trying to grasp onto some kind of positive, happy note for these stories.
Yeah, you know what my favourite thing is about this story, Tom?
What's that, John?
It is the pure ambiguity of it. The fact that there's actually no knowing where Lily's mum is. And there are kind of clues, but there's no conclusive answer. We actually just don't know whether she's left or she's dead or...
Yeah.
And there are hints that something pretty bad has happened. Like the opening line seems to point to a fairly dark place. But it's just all kind of left for the listener, the reader, to pull all the clues together.
Yeah, it is very much so.
Yeah. And you just kind of, you're left to let your imagination go where it will. And I do love that. It takes a lot of confidence as a writer not to close the circle up.
It takes a talent to be able to write it without accidentally closing that loop as well.
Yeah.
So leaving your reader at the start thinking, oh my God, Lily's killed her own mum and she's hiding the evidence. And then for later on, for something just to make that impossible, and you go, oh, right, rubbish. No, I don't know what that is now. Whereas any scenario you can come up with, I think, can probably survive this story.
Exactly. It will fit, won't it?
Yeah. So that's a neat trick, that.
It is. It's there's lots of some lovely descriptions in here as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, what's the word? Anthropomorphizing of things in that way that kids do.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sun is a fading stranger and the root-knuckled lawn, I thought were really good.
Yeah.
But they sort of reflect a child's imagination, that root-knuckled lawn.
Yeah, it's lovely that, isn't it? You can see
Yeah, it's really nice. And the sound of the rake as it scratched through the grass, pulling secrets from the earth.
Yeah.
I thought that was very nice. She has sort of an association with the rake and her mother.
Because that's where she buried her, John.
Could be where she buried her. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. The idea that there's something hidden and you have to kind of rake for it. I thought that was very nice.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Lily's mother, in fact, is a bit like this story. She is not giving up her secrets easily.
Mm.
I've got a question for you, actually, Tom, about a line.
Yeah.
She says, sorry, I haven't got time, she answered, dragging invisible leaves into imaginary piles. What was your take on that? Is it that there's just, she's done all the raking and she's clearly just sort of busying herself now? Or were there never any leaves on the lawn?
I took it as the former,
Yeah.
being fully aware that it might not be, and I might be just looking at it too simply.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Probably that one, but it's an interesting thing to point out.
As if she's kind of done it all, and she's just carrying on because she doesn't kind of want
yeah.
it to end. It's just like, if I keep raking, then that's fine. As soon as I stop raking, then I have to admit that.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, to make it completely imaginary would.
That'd be a whole other
so I
ball
just
game.
decided not to do that.
But so it's a really good one. Again, because of its massive ambiguities, I thought it's a very difficult thing to pull off.
It's great, that, isn't it? Because you think, well, if they were invisible leaves, and the next line is about Miss Hepshaw helping her put the leaves into the compost. So is Miss Hepshaw just pretending to put pretend leaves into a pretend compost? Hold on, is Miss Hepshaw real? No, what's going on? So I just decided that
they're probably real. The ones she's already done. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just dragging it on.
Thank you for answering that. That's good.
And finally, John,
yes.
we have another story, don't we?
Yes, we do. It's called Only Crows Count by Caspar Io.
Yeah.
I really like this.
Kathy liked this one, didn't she?
She did. It was so different to anything else.
Yeah, and brave taking the genre, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
As Kathy said, not something you often see in sort of flash fiction. Because fantasy stuff does tend to need to have quite a lot of world-building background and lore in there. So it's kind of cut the corners on that so everyone knows what we're going on about.
Yeah.
But then he kind of uses that, doesn't he, at the start of the story to its own effect in that you're not quite sure what's going. Is it real?
Yeah,
Is this all again? It's that.
And actually, the world building is sort of is actually quite funny.
Yeah.
And quite intriguing. So it's placed in the context of the piece really beautifully, I think.
Well, let's have a listen to it. Let's have a listen to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We haven't listened to it yet, have we? Let's do that. Only Crows Count by Caspar Io. I'm hanging the laundry when a big black raven swoops in through my window. Perching on the error, in perfect English, it pants,
Your neighbour plots against you, my lord.
I...
He's on his way now. The Cat King has announced that by the hour the rooster crows, you will be dead.
Excuse me?
Sorry, I haven't got time to explain, Your Excellency.
The raven nips my hand and my shirt drops with a dull thud.
We must get you to the priory. The old hag awaits you, but she can't keep the portal open for long.
I don't understand. The raven huffs and flies behind me, pushing me along with its head.
I'll explain on the way. Please retrieve your things. Hurry!
Okay. It circles above as I grab my rucksack, shoving damp pants, socks and shirts into it. Hopping, I put on my boots. That's a talking bird. I fall over. What am I doing? The raven swoops down and helps with the laces. Okay, I'm ready.
Sire, we can't leave without the sceptre.
I don't have one.
You have misplaced it.
I never had it.
But how can that be? Bernard regaled us with the story of the princess bestowing the sceptre of sparrows onto you. With it, you defeated the Nidadoran vultures.
I'm so sorry, but I don't think that was me.
Impossible! Have you been hexed?
It starts to peck at my cheeks, grabbing my shirt collar with its claws. The raven shakes me.
You are the great Raven Lord, protector of the realm and all bird kind. We tell our young stories of you, our lord, who was kidnapped in infancy and who now resides on Earth at 304 Hargreaves Close.
204.
Beg your pardon?
This is 204. You want the flat above.
How? I counted...
Oh, right. Yeah, so it goes ground floor and then 1, 2, 3, like that. The raven releases me, eyes wide, beak agape.
I must go to my lord.
Through the ceiling we hear a muffled knock on my neighbour's door. We fall silent. Heavy footsteps, and the lord's front door creaks open. A deep voice, a gunshot, and a thud. It is quiet, with only the sound of the raven's wings beating the air. A violent storm appears in the night sky, clouds darkening, swarms of birds cawing for cover. I reach for the phone and dial 999.
I'm sorry, all members of the dispatch team are currently unavailable. Please hold the line and we'll be with...
A long beep. The raven, with talons on the landline, has disconnected my call. His beak widens into a sheepish smile.
My lord,
he bows.
No, it's an easy job, I promise. All you really need are opposable thumbs. The sceptre has a button, you see.
Your lord has been shot.
Thus, the fate of the world is at stake.
The lights go out. I hear a knock on my door. To the priory?
To the priory.
Yeah, you see, it's just, for me, it's just kind of flat out entertaining. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really nicely paced. And as Kathy said in the other episode, it's mostly dialogue, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's never sort of over-explainy or boring. It just kind of cracks on with the story. We're straight in to the story.
Do you think it is a fantasy story, or is there a clever meaning behind it?
Ooh, go on.
Well, I did wonder, and again, this might be me just drawing far too much into things. Is he just off his tits on drugs?
Right, yeah. I mean, it could easily be that,
and hence the double meaning of the priory at the end. to the priory. And he's like, yeah, God, I do need... Is that,
That's brilliant. I don't know.
And then it all... So it ties in with but it is actually a intervention of sorts.
I mean, it's a great little... if that was planted, kudos to you, Caspar. That's...
I don't know.
pretty clever.
Yeah.
Just as a little parting joke. I mean, a lot of the humour comes from the friction between the two genres, doesn't it? Being slammed together. You know, the realism of the bloke just hanging his washing.
Yeah.
And this kind of high drama of this fantastical world where everything's at stake.
Yeah, and he's just a bit like, is it though? I mean,
yeah. Which make the understated bits very funny. It's like when the Raven has got the flat number wrong, beg your pardon, is just a really lovely little moment. But yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, the drugs would explain those two genres being slammed together like that.
Maybe.
Do you feel like with this, with a tiny bit of fettling, this could be this could actually make a really great beginning of a fantasy novel?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always fantasy has a big thing, doesn't it, about that crossover of our world and a different realm, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Crossing the boundaries.
It's a sort of classic mistaken identity story ruse, isn't it?
Yeah, the chosen one,
which always works well.
He's the chosen one, but is he really?
Yeah, exactly. It's like the beginning of. It reminded me of North by Northwest. Hitchcock film with the sort of flash Cary Grant ad man character has to really very quickly learn about the world of international espionage or die.
Yeah.
I think what's nice about that genre as well is that as a reader you kind of get to imagine that you are that person. Do you know what I mean? Because they're taken from
a little bit of what would I do?
Because they're just an ordinary person.
You'd have to assume you were on drugs of some sort, wouldn't you?
You probably would.
Be in a rush to get to the Priory.
Yeah, coming back to the drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a much shorter story, isn't it? That's a much shorter fantasy novel where he ends up in the Priory.
It would be a great opening chapter to a Trainspotting-esque.
That's true.
Surreal, wouldn't it? Anyway,
yeah.
So brilliant either way.
Definitely.
Casper's listening to this now going,
that is not what
it's just, what are they on about? Because I didn't, no, it was just I just had an idea for a silly little story and just wrote a story.
Yeah.
Just saw a bird outside on the garden bird table and thought, oh yeah, I'll do.
We would actually genuinely love to hear from you, Casper.
Yeah, we probably need to know now.
About your thoughts.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
But then do you want to know? That's an interesting question, not just about this story, but overall. Part of the joy of is what you bring to it yourself as well, isn't it? A well-written story that allows you that width, that hasn't just dictated exactly what you need to think about it. That's when you know you've got a really good story, and you don't want to be told otherwise, really. Or...
I think that's really true. But I think we always still want to know, but I don't think it's always a good idea.
Yeah.
That's the difference, isn't it? It's like when you find out about, I don't know, when you find out about what a song is really about, for example.
Yes, and then every time you listen to it from then on, you're like,
it's just about that. That's just
not what I thought.
A bit lame.
Yeah, it means something different then in your head canon, doesn't it? If you like, it changes its position.
Yeah, I think you have to sort of trust the artist, don't you? And trust yourself as the reader, and the coming together of those two minds is the joy in a way, isn't it?
And I think there's a bravery in the good artists, music or writing or otherwise, that allow their work to just be released.
Yeah.
And once it's out there, it doesn't belong to them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of interpretation, it's like, well, it means what it means to you. Songs particularly, kind of, you'll hear the people who've written them saying, well, it's, if that's what it means to you, that's great.
And some people are very careful about, they're very careful not to talk about their work, aren't they?
Yeah, not to over-define it.
Yeah, and I have to respect that, because in a way you don't want to know everything. Some clues are useful, but then if it doesn't explain itself, like if it needs explaining, there's a problem, isn't there?
Yeah, interesting.
Very, very interesting. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed them.
We couldn't let them go to waste.
No.
And to be fair, we could have picked another 10 or 20.
Yeah, we could easily.
At least.
We could just roll on into the new year, couldn't we?
We just change the podcast into just reading people's stories.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant. Brilliant.
Yes, well done, everybody.
Right, well, that's the end of that then, isn't it?
It is the end of that, yes. And should we talk about what's coming up next week, Tom? Should we do that?
No, because we're not doing anything next week.
Oh, no, we're not doing anything.
We're actually having a proper week off.
Week off.
So you know what we are doing, John?
What are we doing?
Writing, because you promised everyone.
I knew we had to do something. I just couldn't remember what it was.
Finish our works in progress this month as some kind of watered-down, pathetic attempt at taking part in NaNoWriMo. But yeah, so that's what we're doing next week. We're just not
Okay,
here.
perfect.
We'll be busy writing.
All right. And then the week after that,
We are back.
we are back, and we have a brilliant fantasy and comic writer
Yeah.
who is just an absolute master of his craft and endlessly fascinating about writing as well. And he's written for all the big stuff. Auntie Tom, he's written for 2000 AD, for Star Wars, Warhammer, and we talk about all sorts. We're talking about movies and story and fantasy, horror, all that kind of stuff. Talk about AI as well. But yeah, he's a good brain to swim around in, and his name is Alec Worley. But yeah, we'll get to that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is your first draft coming on, by the way? Your middle grade.
It's very much in need of a week off from podcasting.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah. Oh, that's good. So it's not
really,
coming
really
along
is.
at the moment.
It's not at
What are you
all.
saying?
No, it's had a proper grinding halt, which is the worst thing you can do, because then you start doing your first mind edit, which is what you're not meant to do. You're just meant to get to the end of it first. So then you start going, I need to change that at the start.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to, and then you think, well, I can't think that because that's going to affect this draft, and it can't. That's for later.
Yeah. Do you know what it is specifically that's slowed you down?
Genuinely, obviously, doing a lot of work on the podcast to spend those creative juices.
So it is mainly a time thing rather than the stories at this point, and that's really difficult.
I think there's a little bit of the story just being a bit of having to push a boulder over that little bit of hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not a million miles away. Not a million miles away. Have you been doing any on yours?
I have. Yeah, I've been.
Have you?
But
good for you.
Mainly tickling.
Right. So pretending you've been doing stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, no, I've definitely been working on it. Yeah.
No, I have. I did a big chunk, and then I've got one of those little bits. It's actually quite difficult because I'm pulling all the threads together at the moment.
Right. Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of them, and it's just a bit of a mind. What's the word? A mind smash. I don't know. I find it really hard to hold all the information in my head at the same time.
It's a lot of effort, isn't it?
It is.
Really.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Don't know how people do it. But I think it's a particularly hard genre? I think it's probably difficult whenever you get to the end of a novel because you've always got threads to pull together. But there's something about a sort of detective novel where there's just you inevitably have to set up loads of threads. I mean, it's part of the part of the whole thing, isn't it?
And then they need pulling together without any real holes.
Yeah. So I'm finding that tricky, and I keep finding loose threads as well that I'd totally forgotten about.
Yeah. Well, you've got to put them into that first draft because you might need them, but then it's
they might come out. That's true.
Yeah, they can come out if they're not needed.
Yeah.
Because that would be the worst book to read, wouldn't it? One that just leaves all these potential threads, and they're all just red herrings and dead ends, and never come back, never get mentioned again.
That would be rubbish. It might make a good series, I suppose. You just keep closing them off slowly. God, that'd be tiring, though. Wouldn't it?
It would be.
It would be. It'd be tedious to read.
Do you remember
probably.
Marjorie's diamond ring from chapter 3? Yes.
From the
What
first book
happened
in
to
the
that?
series.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. It was completely irrelevant. But we made a big deal of it just in case we needed to use it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, well, we'll crack on then.
Right, let's do it. Let's be off. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for loaning us your ears.
Yeah.
They really are lovely ears.
If you do enjoy our podcast, we always say, please do let people know, spread the word, leave a review, repost your favourite episode on Twitter or something, and we would very much appreciate it.
Very nice indeed. Take care, everybody, and crack on with Nano.
Yeah, get right in.
Done.
Hello?
Where's everybody gone?